Yes, this is Natalia Valencia. Hello, how
Hi,
are
hi.
you? Well, as you know, Priyanka was going to be your host, but I will instead tell everybody who you are.
Thank
So
you.
Nair is the founder and director of Bryonn Architectural Limited, an architecture and urban design firm based in the UK. The practice covers many sectors and carries out self-funded research programs in the UK. Ninad specialized in mixed-use developments, and his keen interest also lies on combining collaborative research and design in the fields of adaptive reuse and circularity. So, before Martha Thorne was talking about this, and then you're going to expand with some examples of your work. So I'll give, the power for you to share your screen now and
Thank you.
to tell us more about you. So I'm gonna mute myself and get out of here.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Natalia. Thank you for the introduction. And firstly, I would like to thank the whole team of NYC. You guys are doing a fantastic work, and it is truly a great pleasure to be a part of this event. So in today's presentation, I will be briefly talking about the growing significance of global connectivity in research and architectural design. I will also talk about its impact on the various stages of our architectural process. We will discuss a few segments in our research and design process that are important for effective global connectivity. And in the end, we will look at a very important stage in our architectural process, that is bridging. This is the intersection of research and design. This is where the research stages overlap with design stages. So a little bit about us. We're an architecture and urban design company based in the United Kingdom. We specialize in mixed-use developments and developments in the residential sector. Bryonn Architecture was founded in 2014, and our architectural services cater to both new developments such as housing schemes, residential towers, commercial developments, as well as repurposing of existing buildings. We also work on heritage buildings and developments in the conservation area. Now, during the foundation years of the company in 2014, a research initiative called CRD was started within the company. CRD stands for Collaboration, Research, and Design. This was started with the intention to produce continuous ongoing research and also to bridge the gap between research and practice in various disciplines such as urban design, circularity, adaptive reuse, community projects. Today, our research focuses on application of data in real-time projects. So I will talk more about why we rely on global connectivity in research and design, and also how we voluntarily implement research findings in our real-time projects. Now, how did we realize the significance of global connectivity in research? Until now, we have provided our services across 5 countries. So professional network naturally started developing in these countries where we started sharing data and knowledge in a certain format. And we started realizing the significance of global connectivity almost 8 years ago, as in how we started carrying out our investigations for our upcoming projects. Now, since urban design and placemaking is at the heart of our practice, we naturally tend to carry out a broader research before we establish a project brief. And that triggered the multidisciplinary interaction and multifaceted design approach for us. So we have always felt the need to remain connected with people from various specializations. Now, in this process, we started realizing that as we grow our connections globally, we need to give more emphasis on research, data management practices, and also management of data during design stages. So let me take you into 4 important stages of our architectural process. Let me see if I can share the screen. So this is just a brief overview of a few essential stages in architectural investigations and design. It comprises of collaborative inputs, particularly in projects related to urban design and circularity. Now, most of our projects are delivered in BIM, where we have industry-wide collaborations at the design and technical stages. Then we also have architectural investigations, which form the two ends. They are research and post-occupancy studies. We will see how these two ends influence the outlook towards architectural design. We will also look at 4 examples of our own projects where collaborative research influenced our design process in various sectors. Now, as you all know, research is a very broad subject in the built environment because it can vary largely due to different objectives. For example, research conducted for socio-economic aspects will vary largely from research conducted for a product or a technology, such as a BIM software or a new construction material. This aspect of various specializations in micro sectors within the built environment facilitates the collection of specialist data. The outcome of interdependent and multidisciplinary research is that more and more specialist information is pooling into the data system, and it becomes highly beneficial to integrate it with design stages. Now, why global collaborative research and design in architecture? It can positively influence critical decisions of stakeholders or local authorities. It improves process of feasibility studies and provides organized data. It improves contextual analysis during early stages, particularly related to urban studies, and improve the strategic aspects of a design. It improves process of design in advanced stages, such as the technical stages, improves post-occupancy studies. And how can collaborative investigations have a positive impact on the architectural process as such? So for investigations to have a positive impact on the actual architectural process, it needs to have a significantly effective framework, needs to be precise in intention and content, needs to have application that can be identified or measured, needs to be mutually beneficial for global participants, needs to be recent and coming from verified sources, and most importantly, it needs to have contents that can be archived and shared in a certain format. Now, what are the benefits in terms of maximizing impact? Now, every architect or architectural designer would want their proposed scheme to have a positive impact in the society. And also, when you determine your research aims and design aims, you almost always anticipate a certain outcome. Say, for example, I want local authorities to evaluate certain design proposals in the light of my research findings, or I want my architectural intervention to address community aspirations. Global collaboration can facilitate wider evidence-based studies and speed up the decision-making process at design stages. So when a successful collaboration creates access points to knowledge and data creation, the effects of the research findings are felt beyond an individual. It may actually produce ripple effects as the findings progress in a certain topic. Now, I would like to explain about a few of our segments in our research system that are important for effective global connectivity. We are constantly upgrading these segments so that the research process becomes more effective for all and not just us. So the first is general continuous research. Now, one part of our research is not specific to a project, and it is ongoing by researching various precedents to study. This also expands our database and participants as and how we carry out discussions and consultations with various professionals. Now, even though it is non-specific, it eventually forms the basis for various specific research projects. Now, we constantly need this connectivity with other professionals across the globe, such as universities, land valuation companies, land surveyors, building surveyors, etc. This helps us enormously in applying certain design approach and theories to real architectural projects. This largely helps us look at a particular subject with a much wider perspective and go beyond its immediate parameters. We see it as generating better architectural solutions for the challenges that generally prevail in our context. Now, the information and data from various sources is constantly drip feeding in our system, which then gets reviewed, filtered, and then it gets stored in our system via the next segment, which I'll be talking about. It's the research data management. Um, so let's look at an example of how ongoing research helps. Um, we usually conduct continuous research in the field of adaptive reuse and circularity. So why do we conduct ongoing research in circularity, and why not event specific or program specific? Now, apart from the obvious passion for this subject, we constantly encounter challenges and opportunities in our immediate context where the new potential for a building or a part of a city needs to be investigated. Now, you may ask, why is adaptive reuse and circularity such an important aspect of our environment? As you're aware, that a city is a complex organization of people, market, and the environment. Now, this relationship between the three elements is constantly transforming in every context. And because of which, the original purpose of a building or a land or a city, part of a city, may only be short lived. So, when it comes to repurposing, the two main questions that are placed in front of architects, urban designers, policymakers, or stakeholders are: A, can you anticipate the lifespan of the newly assigned function? B, can you repurpose the building or part of a city in such a way that the assigned purpose or user groups never become obsolete? Now, the answer to both the questions is unfortunately no. Apart from a few exceptions, we cannot predict the lifespan of a function assigned to a building or land. As we continue to transform as a society, our built environment will transform too. Now, adaptive reuse has become more relevant in today's time after the pandemic. We have changed how we interact as a society, as a business, and eventually how we rely on our built environment to carry out this purpose. This essentially highlights the importance of global collaboration in research when it comes to various subjects like urban design, circularity, adaptive reuse, sustainability. Say, for example, the institution of recycling, reusing, repurposing, refurbishment, conserving, remodeling of built forms, it's deeply embedded in the history. These challenges and opportunities were present back then, and they are seen and felt even today uh, on a day-to-day basis in both local and international context. So this is an example where global collaboration can significantly influence the modern application in real time. Now let's take a look at an example where our ongoing research in adaptive reuse helped us carry out successful schemes. This is one stretch of Newcastle's central conservation area where we have been continuously involved with some great listed buildings for the last 7 years. Much of this area has undergone regeneration via government initiatives on a wider scale. However, we were fortunate to be involved with various private projects to create successful adaptive reuse schemes. So these are the few examples where the major part of the buildings were left with no viable use or the historic fabric was deteriorating. Now, there is a high degree of sensitivity involved in such projects, and the proposals need to be based on wider understanding of the issues. Also, our continuous research in circularity helped us gather key information in a relatively short span in an organized manner. that is relevant for conservation area projects. So let's move on to the second segment, which is continuous improvement in RDM, which is research data management practices. Now, we feel that a lot of emphasis needs to be put on research data management practices as we continue to expand our global collaboration and partnership models in research and design. Now, why do we need to put this extra emphasis? With global collaborations, the need for efficiency is not limited to how new data and information exchanges are organized. As you move through the entire data lifecycle, all participants and organizations need to be aware of the various system components of your entire system because they are part of your system. Also, this system has to be relevant, up to date, and effective so that the outcome is not compromised. This is also true for architectural design process. Now, as we expand our connections globally through virtual methods of connectivity, there are certain elements in data management practices that may require more emphasis than others. The efficiency in this system, when combined with sound partnership models, can provide enormous clarity in global partnerships. Depending on various research types, some organizations may need to lay more emphasis on aspects such as research data repository or fair data principles, accessibility, etc. In our case, data collection procedures within data management is particularly of very high priority to us because that has a significant impact on the application of data in our architectural projects. It also has direct impact on our feasibility analysis as well. So what does data collection procedure involve? This largely constitutes towards the core research activity. Now, the titles in teal color are the main categories of our research procedures, and then you have the subcategories in black text. So typically, investigations are carried out in each of the subcategory. The data is then allocated in a certain format. The key aspect we follow is that for each of the subcategories, there is uniformity in how the data is documented graphically so that it can be used by multiple users. As an example, let's take a look at subcategory 1 in wider context, which is the urban physical context. So now every participant works with certain templates to collect and represent data. A certain metadata format is used to store data. This significantly reduces the need for repetitive virtual and physical interaction. Okay, so now let's look at an example of how both the segments that we just discussed played a vital role in this project. Our first segment, which was ongoing research in circularity and adaptive reuse, and the second segment was continuous improvement in research management system. So this is an old pub building with a large vacant land on both sides, and the project is divided in two parts. So phase 1 is marked in red. It is the complete remodeling of an original building, and phase 2 is an open land with a completely new construction from below ground. So this is one of our very important projects in the field of circularity and adaptive reuse because close to 60% of the building elements are proposed to be recycled or repurposed for phase 1. Now, this particular project involves both aspects of circularity, recycling, and repurposing. So to come up with a sound project brief, it required appropriate collection and allocation of research data. The data collection procedures played a very vital role in maintaining an efficient way of collecting and applying data at initial stages of the design. So this is the final product where the old building is recycled using 60% of the components and the new building forms a continuation. Phase 1 is the white building that you see that has the recycled components, and next to it is the phase 2, which is totally new construction. So that's a view from a different angle. So how did segment one help us in this project in terms of circularity and urban design? Now, the most important fact about the existing pub building that you saw was that the building had not failed in any manner. The use of the building had failed or got discontinued. So the influencing factors for the failure of the original use of a building or land are usually far beyond the immediate context. They could be nationwide policy changes, they could be socio-economic changes, demographics, transport, and countless other urban factors that result in the failure of a certain use in a building or land. Now, after identifying the influencing factors, we could engage with our participants in the ecosystem to collect and organize data to cover various categories of our data collection procedures. The mediums were already known and established. The documentation was done as per a system that provided maximum clarity at design stages. This is also a very important aspect of adaptive reuse, where a building or land fails to come back to life through natural progression of time. And that is when it may require a more scientific approach towards investigating before designing. So, this is to ensure the new use can have a lasting and positive impact on the building and the wider context. So this is an example of how segment 2 was beneficial in this project. This is how data pulls into a system from various sources. The zone that is in consideration is split into smaller parts for investigation, and information for various sources is categorized in a certain way. It then gets allocated in a certain part of our database with sharing preferences. Now, the data is extremely helpful in establishing various findings towards feasibility analysis of a proposal before we start designing. This also ensures that the design intervention can have a wider positive impact. So let's move on to the third segment, which is cultivating research partnerships and defining global partnership models. Now, as we all expand our interactions globally, the importance of having a sound research ecosystem and also effective partnerships has been increasing for most types of multidisciplinary research. In today's time, we rely more on specialist information exchanges. We find that an effective combination of sound research ecosystem and research data management practices is highly essential for research outcome to be relevant in the wider context and not just the project alone. We feel cultivating the research ecosystem is very essential in the long run. It establishes trust and confidence in various participants, because of which a program can actually go to the finish line. Now, why do we need collaboration and partnership models? Over the years, the definition of collaboration in research and design has become more pronounced because the need for understanding the complexities in the built environment have significantly increased. The definitions and relationships in collaborative research now encompass a much wider scope and responsibility, say from a task specific collaboration to a fully functioning partnership. It can perhaps be safe to say that global collaboration today, in research and design both, is an organization formed by various organizations. So we feel there's also a continuous need for defining partnership models. It becomes essential to identify how various individual organizations structure themselves within the program, have clearly defined expectations and individual research goals. This is to ensure that the program is working for everybody. Okay, now this is a very important stage in our architectural process, um, bridging. It's the intersection of research and design. So this stage often overlaps with the formation of detailed project brief where the research goals that were set out initially now get aligned with project goals. This also further overlaps with our feasibility report and conceptual design stages. This overlapping is intentionally carried out into our conceptual design stage so that there's a bridge between research findings and design. So the bridging stage is a crucial shift because we are not only shifting from research data to architectural design process, but we are also shifting from research participants to design process participants in BIM. The overlapping of certain activities more or less aligns with the feasibility and concept stages of architectural process. The global connectivity is not limited to research and architectural design in isolation. We feel it can sometimes be a continuous process of specialized inputs and coordination. So this is an example of how data from a research lifecycle is categorized to relate with application in project's design process. Our data for project application is broadly divided into three categories: process, product, and performance. And that's how we actually apply data to design models. For example, we'll quickly take a look at design generated for the performance category. This was an old pub building in derelict state. We generated data that was not only applied to the analytical model, but it also formed the basis of the entire design development as more and more data was being added to the BIM model. Now in performance category, we have a lot of technical data that is assembled to generate speculative performance of a building at very initial stages. We have 4 upgrade categories, A, B, C, and D, and that carry a set of technical information that is applied to analytical models. This helps us take evidence-based decisions at feasibility stages that otherwise are only possible at advanced technical stages. Now in this project, it was upgrade category A. So the data was very useful in the analysis of construction components, phase plans, supply chains, manufacturers literature, and a whole lot of other elements that will be associated with the assigning a new function to a building. The advanced stages of this analysis helped us evaluate elements such as percentage reduction in construction, percentage reduction in construction activities such as plant equipments, deliveries. In a sense, the efficient research data allocation can enable conclusive analytical models. So we're nearing the end of the presentation now. This is another example where various segments of our research influence the entire design outcome. So all 3 categories we discussed earlier played a major role in applying research data at initial stages as well as the final design stages. So this was the overview of how our projects benefit from collaborative inputs at research and design stages combined. We personally see the benefits on a day-to-day basis. So an architectural process is usually a complex process involving various specialist companies, supply chains, environmental consultants, local authorities that engage in joint decision making. However, this process gives you various opportunities time to time to take certain key decisions that significantly shape the outcome of the project and its impact on the surrounding. So this is where research combined with design in age of global connectivity can enable you to take more informed decisions for future of a built environment at whatever scale you're practicing. Because we personally see it as a future-proofing exercise through various mediums such as sustainability, circularity, urban studies. The collaborative decisions we take for our urban environments today have a lasting impact on social, economic, and psychological well-being if we were to see a city as an organism or a life form. So with this, I would like to end my presentation here. Thank you very much for joining, and we may proceed with any questions you may have.
Well, this is a fantastic presentation. Thank you so much. We learned more about, as you said, collaborations in every different ways that we have seen it so far. So I know that Teresa is around. She's going to ask some questions from the public if there is any, or other
Yes,
questions.
we have. Good afternoon. We have some question. Did you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear
Yes,
you.
but we cannot
Okay.
see you.
Okay.
Okay, I'm trying to my video and start my video. Okay. Okay. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. One of the question is about the percentage of your fee that you allocate between design and research. What's the percentage of your fee?
It's a very good question, and I wish I had a clear a mechanism to allocate a certain percentage, but unfortunately, that never could happen. So it just goes depending on the kind of research we are taking on. Sometimes it is for a particular project, or sometimes, like I said, we continue to do some sort of continuous research in the subjects that we're passionate about. So there's no...
talk about with your clients and investor. Did you talk about them about that? That's one of the questions.
No, I mean, we with the research that we carry out, it's completely self-funded. So we don't charge for our research. It's just the same as how you would carry out a broader, urban studies if you were to do an urban design project. But it's just the difference being that we do it on a continuous basis with an intention to apply the data in our design models. So yeah, we don't include that in our fees, or we don't charge any organizations, not yet, until. So yeah, so that's the scenario.
So basically, it's all about this research and design. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because any other question.
Yeah, because I think we have seen significant benefits when we applied our research data in our design projects, because you can integrate a lot of information towards taking sound design decisions that can have a wider impact. And you're kind of sure when you're approaching the final design stage, you're kind of sure that you've taken into account all the parameters, all the judgments and opinions of people industry-wide. So yeah, the benefits are plenty.
Great, thank you. That's it.
I have another question here, and it's about BIM. And if you're using BIM on digital modeling of your projects, and that data clearly from digital models.
Sorry, can I have that question again? I didn't quite get it.
Yes, if how much technology and process as BIM are you using in your designs?
In our designs, right? I mean, I would say 70% of our work is done in BIM, and we tend to use it quite a lot now. It's only certain part of your work you may not require BIM as a part of the process, but you may use it at a later stage in the project, or earlier on, and then move on to something a totally different process. It all depends, but yeah, I would say overall 70% of our work is done BIM.
Yeah, it's a collaborative tool. As architects, I use BIM on my own projects, and we see how everybody interacts with the model and works, and there is just one drawing nowadays. It's not
absolutely.
Every consultant have their own. One other question also regarding your research lab. You started your research lab. When did you start it, and what triggered the need of having that lab?
That's a very good question, actually. I mean, we started in 2014, and to be honest with you, I was not even fully equipped or prepared to have an ongoing, research programs. But it's just that urban studies and adaptive reuse has always been at the heart of our practice. So we just carried on basically, as in how we expanded our work nationwide. So yeah, I think 2014 was the initial start of CRD.
You know what, as architects, we always do some research about any project. You know,
Sure.
like we get a project, especially if we don't have experience in one type of project or the other, you carry automatically certain level of research. What do you think that is different from your level of research to the typical level of research that any architect will have in their project?
I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, research is a part of our architectural process one way or the other. You are constantly looking for data, and that's research. Now, what kind of data, what kind of application, and when to do it is what differentiates between various research activities. So everybody could be doing research in some form or the other. It's just that our research probably would encompass wider issues, and issues that don't necessarily need to be involved in your architectural design process. Say, for example, if we were doing a mixed use developments, the stakeholders may not expect that from us. The local authorities may not expect that from us. It may not actually even reflect in the design. But if you decide to do it voluntarily because you want to take more powerful decisions for you in your design process, then that would probably separate the research that you do for your design compared to the research that you do before design, to be more informed.
I see. Well, yeah, I think that usually when there is a research, a background research, even though you don't have a project, sometimes you start your own research in certain subjects that are interesting or that are hot in the market, and then it may happen that you apply later in a project because you have done
Absolutely.
so much research. Maybe someone is interested in what you know, or you can approach a project in a different way. So, it's just as an example for other professionals, in that time where you're not super busy, it's also good to research on things that you're interested to do or you would like to do. This is also a message for many students that are hearing us, that they may want to know more about something and, build that research.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because it's part of our profession, but we also, when we have those free times, then if we carry the research, it may happen that later on we get to apply that knowledge and in good projects as well.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you.
I have one other question, if it's possible.
Sure.
So, do you help other offices with your research? You collaborate with different offices?
Not architectural. We did not feel the requirement or the need to collaborate with other architectural offices yet, but we would love to, because we don't particularly draw a line anywhere who to collaborate with. It's essentially whatever is required for a particular subject. So it could be nationwide, or it could be global, or it could be just local, or it could be just students who want to get involved. So we don't draw a line. But yeah, I would love to collaborate with more and more people, because more the better, I would say.
Sure. Thank you.
And before we end, I would like to invite everybody to get into our website. Then in the website, and learn more under your name, you display your short bio, and over there is the name of your company and a link to your office. And that's where we can see more of your work, other aspects as well, not just the one that you express here in this conference. but the work is fantastic. I am, really glad to be able to introduce your organization, your company, to all our audience. So I know that it's not that easy to get to the link of your office, but just to give the audience the path, you go to his photograph, click there, then his bio, and over there is your website. So if there are no more questions, then we'll go to pause until our next speaker, who is a sponsor of us, and I can introduce him around 3 p.m. So I don't know if you want to add anything else, and otherwise we'll let you go.
Thank you.
Hi, Natalia.
Oh, hi. Hi, Priyanka.
Can
You're
you
not
hear
on
me?
camera.
Yes, we can hear you.
But we cannot see you.
Okay, so finally I have this sorted out. I'm sorry everyone for the glitch, but I thought like before Nina goes away, I can just thank him for this wonderful and informative presentation. I didn't get a chance to introduce him, which was muted or whatever it was, but I just want to congratulate him because he was also recently featured in the Business Today magazine for milestone achievements in architecture and completion of record number of projects in the UK across 6 sectors. So I think that's a really great achievement in this kind of span of time since you started in 2014, and in this kind of few years of time, you have achieved so much. So
No, thank you. Thank you. I sincerely thank your entire team. You guys are doing fantastic work. So I'll be looking forward to seeing your future events, certainly. So wish you all the best.
Thank you for your support and our applause for your great presentation, and we look forward to be connecting throughout the years with you.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna be in touch.
Thank you very much.
thank you, Ninad.
Okay, take care.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.